What show is that from? Mr. Rogers. Yes, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So I was reading this fascinating article about Tom Hanks, and he was talking about like getting ready for Mr. Rogers and how did he get ready for the role? Like how did he do this? How did he get ready for this? And was indeed powerful hearing how he talked. Because you would think, right, Mr. Rogers, we all know what Mr. Rogers says and does, that he would just sort of parrot, right? Just parrot his words, right? That's what Mr. Rogers says when somebody's going to do that. But that's not what this article talked about. What Tom Hanks said, and this is beautiful. He said what he had to learn from Mr. Rogers, listen to these words here, folks, was an unselfconscious, considered slowness. An unselfconscious, considered slowness. And he said he was trying to do some little test screens, I guess, and he said when you get over that, there is some point where you just go, oh, dear Lord, this just has to be slower, and it's not dumber. That's fascinating to me. Because here's this arguably the most famous actor in the U.S. today, and he's trying to channel Mr. Rogers. So he says, look, to do that, I had to learn not to work harder at it or anything like that. I had to learn to go slower. Is that good? Look up, look around, walk the land. Look up, look around, walk the land. Now, as if that wasn't enough, this is what Tom Hanks said. And I think this is our takeaway, really, for today. He said it wasn't just about pace. It was about a specificity of cadence and an intention. So what he said was this: you want to learn to live that way. Live as Mr. Rogers lived. Slow down your cadence. How many of us are guilty of talking way too fast? Right? You may not point at anyone in the audience, by the way. Talk way too fast. I talk way too fast. It's about coming down with your cadence and then coming up with your intention. And that intention is to connect with the person right in front of you. That simple. Mr. Rogers was not out to change the world. He was out to connect with the person right in front of him. He went to a much slower cadence of life to do that. I mean, the show, I don't know how many years, it went like a skazillion years and people are still watching it today. The show always started in the same way with him changing shoes. I couldn't get away with keeping you folks coming to New Church Live. I just changed my shoes every single time, the same way every service. But he somehow managed to do that. Cadence and intention. Maybe that's what we can just practice a little bit of going into this Thanksgiving season. Just like slowing our language down. Pulling our intention up. Looking up. Looking around. Walking the land. It's the land you're in. It's the land you're in. Of course, there are going to be those whose lands look much better, of course. That's okay, because that's not your land. That's theirs. You have your land. Learn to walk it.